Okay, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha'Allah. Koholoyim la Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Bahashim, Rakahakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. Just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Aqua that's out here sincerely, keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawah. Just coming at you with another quick lesson. I'm praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And this is an article in Yahoo News. I wanted to try and find the original video of this. If you're familiar with what's going on, which you should be, because we're supposed to be watchful. And the Lord said to watch and pray. But this infighting that's going on amongst these European nations, then you have this guy, J.D. Vance, which is the vice president. He goes over there and, he tries to cut into these Europeans. But it was something that I remember seeing as far as one of those leaders once all that was over with. And he cut into him so cold because he called on the hypocrisy of America. You know what I'm saying? So, pretty much J.D. Vance, let me see if I can get a little bit. Because basically, what this guy went over there and done was he basically shitting on these people talking about, let me just get some of it. Let me just jump to the top here, this article, which I might be able to find a video. I would like to find a video because, man, with the way he was, he was kicking it. And he's like, man, you silly ass Americans, man. Yeah, Vance was going pretty hard on these people, man. And the claps, you know how the audience be, they clap and little shit, you know what I'm saying? But man, them claps was not, full-fledged, like, we love you. No, it was just scattered claps here and there. They looking at this dude, just flashing the camera back and forth, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, you know what? Let me see. Here's the speech right here. They got the links right here. J.D. Vance, vice presidential debut of the international scene. His belligerent February 14th speech at the Munich security conference, in which he chided Europeans for their failings on democracy and free speech. Now that's the point that I wanted to make, because that's the point that he was cutting into this guy on, calling them hypocrites and shit. And I'll chop it up on that in a sec here. Let's see.
Of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance, who was here last year as senator, and we are very happy that he has come back.
Okay, so we just gonna cut to the chase a little bit. But check this guy out, man. He going hard on these people, and you can clearly see that, the claps and cheers was not there like that. You know what I'm saying? But hey, this is the arrogancy of these Americans, man. That pride. And let me grab a quick scripture real quick before we get into this, because I want to come back to this Revelation 17:6. But this is Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18. It says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." And that's all these so-called Europeans, which their biblical name is Edomites. They're, biblically Esau, Edom. You know what I'm saying? But they're all prideful. But America is that one. This is that great whore right here, man. And all these European countries, they pretty much take their cue from America. So but let's get off into some of what this guy is talking about. Okay, so they're clapping as he's coming out because they don't know what he's going to say yet. But I want to jump. Let me jump some.
And thanks especially to the host of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible event. We're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. Fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers.
Okay, we're going to skip on past, because that they did supposedly some immigrant drove through a crowd of people. That's what he was talking about right there. So, of course, they're gonna stay on top of that, because that's one of their main little get downs, you know what I'm saying, as far as like making everybody else other than them, the so-called white race, looking as if they're just savages and shit.
our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you...
So you can kind of see the looks on these guys' faces. You know, kind of that look of, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? You see, these Edomites over there, they're tired of the Edomites here in the Americas. Let me grab this real quick, because this is basically what's going on right here. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 25. And I'm going to see if I can find that video of the response of this one guy, because it was over with, and they was having like another little session or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And the lady reporter, or the lady that was, you know, questioning, you know, the leaders, and the guy was just like, he just cut into this guy so cold, man. I hope I can find it. But Matthew 12 and 25, and Yahweh knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So it's prophetic that all these nations would eventually come up against the whore, the great whore, you know what I'm saying, or the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is America, man, because they've gotten besides themselves, you know what I'm saying. They're you know, they're shitting on their allies, you know what I'm saying, and it's been for quite some time that, you know, they just haven't been equaling things out, you know what I'm saying. It's just America, 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 America. Now you see this guy, you talking about our allies and we're all together and this and this, but you're not sharing the wealth. You're not sharing anything. You know what I'm saying? You just coming through bullying, talking shit, and these other Edomites. It's like you having a family reunion, and you've had the family reunion every year for the past 20 years. And everybody that, you know, that live in the South, say for instance, the family reunion is in the South. You going down to Georgia or some shit. The people in Georgia is like, you know, they're sick of the high and mighty uppity ones that left Georgia and went to the city. And now they live in, you know, Philadelphia, they live in Boston, you know, and then they think that they can come down there. They got a new accent and they, you know, got new, you know, a new look, you know, they driving new cars and they just gonna come through and they just gonna shit on the rest of the family. But like, hey, look, man, you come from here too. You know, we're all Edomites, but no, Esau not planned it like that. But but look at the look on their faces. I'm gonna play a little bit more and we can just grab a couple more scriptures.
We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. After British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation.
Okay. So he's trying to say the prior administration, but the point, let me get to what this guy said, because he made a great point, and I remember this. And then think about the anti-Semitic laws that they're coming up with. You know, that executive order that Trump, drew out for just that particular people in general. Like, why do you need a whole separate hookup for people when if something is being done wrong to them in the Americas, the law should apply to everyone. So there shouldn't just be, I gotta have a whole new group or setting of laws to just benefit this one group of people that are calling themselves the Jews. So they done that. Not to mention, you know what I'm saying, they've been cutting into a whole lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you disagree with Trump, come on, bro. They talking this democracy shit. Democracy this, democracy that, freedom of speech this, freedom of speech that. So this is what this guy said right here when he cut into him, and I thought it was dope. Right here. Let me see. I'm going to start right here. It says, however, Vance solemn pledge that the Trump administration, as the new sheriff in town, will never seek to silence people for speaking their minds and will even fight to defend their rights to do so surely qualifies for a chutzpah award. Are we talking about the same sheriff? Now check it out. This is what he said. Are we talking about the same sheriff who is currently barring the Associated Press from Air Force One and from a number of White House media events because the wire service won't call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? And he cut him with that because he done that. As a matter of fact, you can go right here. You can get the article. White House will continue to bar Associated Press and Gulf of Mexico fight. Right? So why don't these people have the freedom of speech to say, you know what? We're not going to get off into that. It's been the Gulf of Mexico forever. You know what I'm saying? We're not acknowledging that it's the Gulf of America just because you said it a couple of days ago. And we should be able to come on in there and ask you a few more questions about it, because if he was real about, freedom of speech and democracy, he would have just allowed them to come in, took their questions. And this is what this guy, J.D. Vance, was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, as a matter of fact, it says J.D. Vance's free speech hypocrisy in Munich. Because it is hypocritical for them to go over there. He's over there talking shit to these Europeans about their shit going on, the shit they got going on over there. But in the Americas, your own administration is barring. Associated Press is a pretty decent news outlet. They're pretty reputable, man. I mean, this is not like some bullshit guy off the street that's asking questions. You know what I'm saying? But you bar them because, and which lets you know too, everybody else that you see off in there, they folded. They're writing within their, I guess, Washington Post, whoever. Don't quote me on it. You know what I'm saying? But all these other, anyone else that's in there that has a pass to be in the White House or to, climb on the Air Force One and ask questions, they have actually agreed to and have put into articles, you know what I'm saying, that they no longer, acknowledge the Gulf of Mexico. It's now the Gulf of America. And even with Google, they forced Google, you know what I'm saying, to change your Google Maps. Now in some countries haven't acknowledged that. But, and I think, of course in Mexico, it's still called the Gulf of Mexico. But here in the Americas, as far as Google, it's called the Gulf of America. So it is very hypocritical, and the Lord hates a hypocrite. But let me get this real quick, because these nations are divided. Let me get this back again. Matthew 12 and 25, because they looking at him and like, and it's a pretty long, I didn't want to go through all of it, but I would advise you to just watch it if you choose to. It's like he was up there for about almost 30 minutes, because I watched it. I remember it, watching it, and I'm like, but I seen another part of the aftermath later on. Matthew 12 and 25, it says, and Yahweh knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So these European, see, this is all Esau. All those so-called white people, those are all Edomites. They have just, branched out, and they've taken the world, because the earth is ran by them. You can get that in Job 9 and 24 right here, because that's all that you've seen in the audience. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? See, this Job in 9 and 24 has been coming out for a long time. But we bring it out because the earth really is in their hands. They own all the gold. They own all the silver. They have all the precious materials and resources of the earth. They're in control of the oceans, the seas, the rivers. They're in control of the agricultural lands. They're in control of the skies, the mountains. I don't give a fuck what it is. These so-called white people, I don't care where you go in the world, they're in control of that shit. So we know that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They're in control of all the wealth. They're in control of who can have weapons and who can't. They're in control of who can be sanctioned. And it's actually them. And you have these other little nations, because when you go into Psalms chapter 83, it names the enemies of the Lord, and it's all these nations. Now they all come together at a UN meeting, just like this right here. What you seeing right here? This right here is no more than, you know what I'm saying, a meeting of, the European people. This, and other nations are in there. But what you won't see in there is so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, the Israelites, because they also in these meetings they make rulership decisions on how to treat us. You see, those Israelites are starting to awaken, so to speak. What are we going to do about it? Don't think that they didn't talk about stuff like this there, man. But see, when you look at stuff like, let me play it. Let me see.
Social media companies to censor.
Let me go back.
Began just Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam.
So this room full of people right here, these are not necessarily your elite, but they are the puppets of the elite of the world, but they are all Edomites overall. But you do have, that sprinkle of, your Moabites, your so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese, so-called, Ishmaelites, the Arabs and things of that nature. They're sprinkled throughout there. But overall, the top tribe, that top enemy of the Lord is Esau, Edom, and it's in the book of Psalms chapter 83. They're that top enemy of the Lord. So these people are the ones that's actually running the earth. They're the ones that's saying, how you can, travel, or, your school curriculum for your children, anything from, your food, your produce, how you can grow something, collecting rainwater. I'm talking about everything. These motherfuckers is in control of everything. You can't say that it's not them. But as you can see, it's the agitation, though. They're agitating their allies. And this is Revelation 17. And 16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Because those 10 horns go off into those very Europeans, those EU nations and stuff like that. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So eventually what's going to happen is that nuclear war going to start, or World War III is going to start, because a lot of these countries, those allies of America, they're looking at America with a real side eye. A lot of them are, thinking of joining BRICS, trying to join BRICS. You know what I'm saying? And some of the top, allies of America. Because a lot of these countries are sick and tired of the American dollar, and when the U.S. sanctioned people that they're doing business with, they're tired of, when sanctions are put on a certain country, they also catch the bite. When it comes to their allies, what I'm saying? Like, look, man, I do business with these people. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's just like right now over in, places like Germany, certain places, like Ukraine and all these different places, you know what I'm saying? Like, all that shit, man, them people over there freezing right now because they used to get pretty decent oil prices from Russia, and they've cut off things like that because of sanctions and stuff like that. So now inflation is going through the roof over there. See, America is causing a lot of headaches for a lot of their allies, and they're going to get sick of it. So let me get that back again. Revelation 17 and 16, and then the horn, Slakia, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So them thermonuclear weapons are going to, it's prophetic that they're going to come this way, man. And these Americans, they're so damn prideful, they don't think that could ever happen. Because when you look in the comment boards of a lot of these stories, these Americans are proud as shit. Bring it on. Well, we'll crush them. We'll blow them to smithereens. See, they have no idea the prophecy that's faced towards America, man, straight from Yahweh H.I.M, man. So when this guy was up there saying all that shit, these people was pissed. Matter of fact, I wanted to see if they had see, he's been meeting with a lot of these people. That's the president, the prime minister of India right there. He was just here the other day, or he might be still here. They, of course, they swore in stuttering ass JFK, and he's not even a doctor. The guy don't have no. I guess all the doctors here shit, they ain't about shit anyway, but he don't have no medical degrees and shit to be in control of the health department, basically, of the United States. These are all the people. See right here, all these people that they swore in. What you will not see is a so-called black person. And then they got this guy, Elon Musk. So don't think that these people throughout the world don't see what's going on. Here's this other guy. He's a damn white supremacist Amalek, which is the chief tribe of the Edomites. But look, I mean, this is what you see. Where are the black people? Where are the so-called black people? Where are the so-called Hispanics? Native Americans that went out here and voted for this guy. Where are they? Okay? So when you see stuff, see, here's this Moabite. See, this is who's dealing. This is how we know the enemies of the Lord are really true in Psalms chapter 83. Matter of fact, let me get it real quick. Because you're not going to see no Israelites. You're not going to see no so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We are just, slaves amongst these people. And they tax us, and they take our tax money, and they build their militaries, build their police force that roam our streets, you know what I'm saying, that won't give us a goddamn day's rest without running you down and running your goddamn license plate, man. But this is Psalms 83 and 1. It says a song or a psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, see, right here is going to mention enemies. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. See, the average Christian, they don't even know that the Lord has enemies, but he do. All these nations that are not Israelites, they are the enemies of the Lord, and 2/3 of the Israelites are actually enemies of the Lord because they follow him behind these nations. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Right? So it's people that hate the Lord. These nations are going to be named off. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. What do you think they were doing over there with that meeting afterwards? They had their little, up front and talking, but trust me when I tell you, they're always talking about the Israelites, man, because they have to figure out a way to keep us from calling on our God, Yahweh, and, our King, Yahweh Shai. They understand that, and they know that the Hebrew Israelites are, growing throughout the world. And we're standing on these highways and byways boldly, every other day of the week, throughout the week. You know what I'm saying? You can find a Israelite camp, especially these videos. These videos are cutting all through the asses because we can't even keep up with all the lessons that's going out. So they're noticing that, right? So all this freedom of speech that this guy's talking about, all that shit he was talking about, guess what? They cut a lot of our videos. You know what I'm saying? They give us strikes, and then eventually you get your third strike. Your channel comes down. You got to start all over again. But we know that with that anti-Semitic executive order that Trump signed, we know that, full-fledged, they're not going to see us that as freedom of speech, us being able to just say what what the Bible is saying. They're going to be like, no, we got to get rid of that. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Where they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. And here you go, here's the list. The tabernacles of Edom, so-called white man, his race of people, the progenitor, and the Ishmaelites. As you can see, some of those were in that conference. Of Moab, the Ishmaelites are your so-called, some people call them Arabs. I know here in Michigan where I'm at, they call them Chaldeans and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But generally it's like, they overall, a lot of them are Muslims and, that type of religion. It says of Moab, that's the so-called Chinese. You just seen them sitting there shaking hands with this guy. And the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So you have the so-called Japanese in there, and you have those Israelis that's talking about anti-Semitism, because it's starting to, the word is really starting to get out that people don't believe that they are who they're saying they are. And so now they're coming up with laws, to stagnate that, you know what I'm saying? Like anybody talking about we're not the Israelites, that's anti-Semitism. We want, to press charges, so to speak. Like those Palestinians that was, or not even just Palestinians, because it was so-called white people. It was all people of all races of people, as far as these younger people that was at these colleges and that were protesting all those killings over there in Gaza. Those were all American citizens. But this guy's talking about deporting them. See that? He's talking about deporting American citizens, college students that go against, that pretty much are saying free Palestine, or don't kill the women and the elderly and the children over there in Gaza. Because they're going against that. Now all of a sudden you're anti Israel, and now you can be deported basically out of the country. And we'll see how they do that. But that's what I was saying about this guy. It was very hypocritical, for him to go over there and say what he said. And this guy cutting perfectly. Let me go back. Let me see. Did I come out of it? Yeah, he cutting perfectly, man. He like, shit, oh, there's a new sheriff in town. Oh, but hold on, though. You know, the shit that you cutting into us about is the very shit that y'all doing. So what's up with that? Where was it at? Slovakia. Yeah, because let me read just a little bit more into it. I'm going to start back from the top of what this guy was saying because it's very hypocritical. However, Vance solemn pledged that the Trump administration, as the new sheriff in town, would never seek to silence people for speaking their minds, which we know that they are, and will even fight to defend their right to do so, surely qualifies for chutzpah award. Are we talking about the same sheriff who is currently barring the Associated Press from Air Force One and from a number of White House media events because the wire service won't call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? As the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expressions points out, when the government shuts out journalists explicitly because of its dislikes their reporting or political views, that violates the First Amendment. So yeah, that guy cut this nigga. He cut him. He cut him cold, man, with that, man. And that was real. That was true. Says, meanwhile, key administration figure Elon Musk has declared that CBS staffers involved in an interview engaged in deliberate deception to interfere in the last election and deserve a long prison sentence. So yeah, man. Hey. It says, in a way, Vance's diatribe was addressed less to his audience at the security conference than to the mega base in the United States and perhaps to the populist audience in Europe, with this depiction of Europe as a place where free speech is routinely muzzled by the woke left. Mass migration continues to wreak havoc despite the voters' will, and democracy is thwarted when it threatens the elites. These broad caricatures is grotesquely hyperbolic, even when it touches on real problems, but perhaps most insidiously, Vance coupled it with a contemptuous dismissal of the threat from Russia. Yeah, like, that's what you should have been there to talk about, Anyway, I just wanted to touch on this for a hot sec. The guy's very hypocritical, and these are some real white supremacists. But he's so called about the white race, but you see he's not with no white woman though. They kind of cut into him about that too. But I say, hey, they deal with the woman that you want to. I guess you know what I'm saying, shit. Because even the so-called white woman in America is horrible to deal with. They done become, about as they leveling up on the so-called white man. The so-called white man is like, bitch, you're not about to make me a Me Too movement character. But this guy hate. Matter of fact, Trump just said this too today too. I found this to be interesting. He said, this is what Trump said, right? Yeah, let me start at I'm going to just start right here. It says, case in point, the day after Vance's lecture, the President of the United States declared himself a national savior who doesn't have to worry about little things like laws when he's busy saving the country. Whatever inspired that tweet, which as some have noted resembles a line from the Napoleon in the 1970 field Waterloo, is a justification for dictatorship, not a statement of democratic principles. It's certainly the antithesis of a constitutional republic. So this guy over there talking all that shit, man, and then this guy Trump is over here just disregarding everything. He's disregarding everything. Talking about a damn democracy. Now this dude he's about to run his place into the ground, which is beautiful, But I just wanted to touch on this. Look at this dude. And they was shitting on him too, man. I'm telling you. I know that had to have been an uncomfortable setting once he got done with all that, and I'm not sure how long he stayed or if he's still there or not. But still, America got that they got that stroke, man. So these people got to sit down and listen to him, man. You know what I'm saying? Because they are the key number one Edomites as far as like their, military might. And they swing that sword around, man, with great pride, even though they're stupid as hell. And that's how those Europeans was looking at this guy. The way that he looked when he said what he said, like, stupid motherfucker, get your ass from over here. Anyway, with that, I pray that this lesson was edifying. Kwame Yashala on the Bible Bar.